Okay. Today we have Hannah. She's an Australian living in Germany. We'll talk about confidence, social skills, her life. She was an opera singer and now she's a developer. She's with us. Yeah, and one thing, I did my very first video call like 3 months ago with her, and now we are here. She's here as my guest. This is really strange, something really strange to me. So, how are you, Hannah?
Hi, I'm really well. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. These series has just gone
Yeah.
absolutely
Wow, I don't know.
monsters.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to be part of
I,
it.
yeah, I want to watch all of them, but I haven't watched it yet.
There's too many. There's too many. You're too popular. It's a big
Yeah. And I'm trying to get just one per day because I could do even more. But yeah, one for me, one for day is it's enough also for my friend, for my family. So they say, please stop that. we can follow that. So
go.
yeah,
We don't like when you're so popular. We want
yeah. I don't even know. I don't even know why. What's going on? Yeah, I was just coding in a corner in a dark room without anyone watching. Then I started making one video call, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one. And then now we are here. I
snowball.
don't know. Yeah. So and okay, but now we are here now to hear. I'm here now to listen to your story because I think it can be interesting. So yes, please tell us how did you become a developer and
Oh
what?
gosh, it's a long
What was it?
story.
Yeah,
I'll try to keep it to just the interesting parts because I could probably talk about that for like just an hour, just that one thing.
go for that. You can.
No, this should be a conversation, not a monologue. So
Okay.
I first started coding, I suppose you would say, when I was 8 years old. I actually started learning HTML. So I was at a bookstore with my parents. I saw a book. It was like how to learn HTML in 30 days or something. And I was just like, yeah, I want that book. This is a little 8-year-old girl. And my dad was like, really? Like, you don't want Animorphs or Goosebumps? I'm like, no, I want that book. So I started learning HTML at age 8. I started creating websites for people at age 12. Now, keep in mind, I'm 33 now. So when I was 8, it was 1995. So this is not...
You look way younger. So
Thank you. Fishing for a compliment, but that's lovely. So the fact is that at that time, the level of HTML I learned is not what we're using today. It was very different. But I kind of did that for a while. And actually in high school, I did a software design and development unit, which I didn't continue doing. And it was a real shame that I didn't continue doing it because that covered a few things like Visual Basic and stuff like that. I learned some of the logic patterns back then. And actually I got this is kind of high school nerd time. I got a school award for my software design and development class.
I want to see now that you stick that on your wall. Yeah, I want to see that.
Somewhere. I think I do actually still have it. But yeah,
Wow.
But I didn't go into that area. I ended up going into communications. I actually did a journalism degree and ended up working in project management for mining conferences, of all things. This was in Australia, of course. Mining is a huge industry there. So I worked doing that. I was a project manager on the corporate fast track, but I actually didn't love the pressure of the job. So I transitioned into digital marketing, where I did use some of the HTML and CSS actually for maintaining a blog that my company had, but very minimally. Like, it wasn't really web development so much as web tinkering. And then during that job, I auditioned for the Sydney Conservatorium of Music and became an opera singer. I studied my Masters of Music for 2 years. And then worked for 1 year for Opera Australia doing a schools tour. I was singing the role of Cinderella for kids, the opera. And yeah.
I want to watch that. We'll put some links in the description. I personally look for them.
do some photos, but I don't know if I
Well,
definitely have a photo.
I love that. Yeah.
And after that, I moved to Germany to try to find work as an opera singer. There isn't actually a lot of work in Australia for classical musicians, especially not full-time jobs. Whereas in Germany, it's treated like any other profession. So I moved to Germany. My husband actually is also a singer. He got work in Germany too. And we ended up working at the same theatre for 3 years, which was amazing. Really wonderful. But I have to say, there were some things missing for me. I am a highly logical thinker. I'm a doer. I'm really about solving problems. And I love performing. I love being on stage. It's a thrill and it's so much fun. And it taught me a lot about myself and about other people. But it isn't a logical problem solving job. It's different.
Something else.
Different. It gave me a lot of really good habits that are helping me now. The idea of practice, for example, is something that is absolutely standard with music. And I think I see a lot of developers perhaps underestimating how beneficial practice is, especially of basics that you think you already know. So you're like, I don't need to practice them, right? But in opera, we practice scales every day. Do we know scales? Yes. We sing them every day. We still practice them every day, and so this gave me a lot of really good habits, which I'm sure I can talk about more later. But the fact of the matter is, when I got pregnant with my daughter and we had to move cities for my husband's work, I was in a position where I thought, okay, I can either go back to doing auditioning and trying to get back into opera in a new city, which is very hard to do. And I thought, maybe this is the time to change careers. Maybe this is an opportunity for me to find something that will satisfy me more long-term. Because although I love the day-to-day life of the theatre, long-term, you're essentially doing the same job for the rest of your life. And I'm the kind of person who loves a challenge. I'm very ambitious. I'm very driven. And doing the same thing for the rest of my life, it wouldn't be satisfying to me long-term. Even if day-to-day it would be wonderful, long-term I knew I wouldn't be happy. So I'm getting to now. I'm almost back in now. So I knew this would be a long story.
I'm listening. Yeah, it's great. You are going great. Yeah, it's a great story. For now, it's a great story.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. I have to be honest. It's not.
I love to hear that. Yeah.
So in April of this year, I was kind of getting towards the end of my. In Germany, you get 1 year of maternity leave. So I was getting towards the end of that year, and I was thinking about things I could do. And for me, I knew coding was something I wanted to come back to at some point. It's something I've been talking about my whole life. It's kind of this thread, from the time I was 8, it was like a little bit of coding and then I'd go into another world, and then coding would come back and then I'd go into another world. And, it kind of was this little thread that ran through my entire life. And I thought, I'd love to try that again and see if it's something I could really do, or if it's just something that I liked as a kid. Maybe it's not something I'm actually good at. Maybe it's just I have fond memories of it because I was young, And the other thing I was thinking about was speech therapy. So I thought that kind of related to opera. It gets to help a lot of people. Maybe that would be something that would be good. So those were the 2 areas I was thinking about. And what I came across was a website called the Odin Project. It's a free website. It's kind of like more of a self-sufficient version of Free Code Camp. So it doesn't create an environment for you to code in. It makes you download Ubuntu or dual boot Ubuntu. It makes you, download a Visual Studio or whatever editor you want. It teaches you Git, teaches you command line. So it's basically creating a lot more skills that are required, I guess, longer term for a developer, rather than just focusing on programming. And then it teaches you programming on top of that, mostly in a written format. And for me, that was important because I actually don't like learning through videos. I prefer learning by reading. So for me, having a written course with this amazing Discord community, 100% free. Every time I had a problem, I'd just go onto the Discord community and be like, hey, I have no idea what's going on here. Someone help. And someone would just jump in. A random stranger would just be like, yeah, let's solve it. Here's what you're doing wrong, or here's what needs to work. And I basically did this every morning, this was when the first lockdown happened.
Mhm.
Every morning I would work from at least 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., if not longer. So minimum of 3 hours, maximum of about 6. Every single day, including weekends, I would work through the Odin Project, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, just that's as far as I got. But I did that for 60 days straight. And by the end of those 60 days, I would say at an intermediate level with JavaScript. So not great, but I was past the basics. And that's when I knew after 60 days, I was still as passionate about it. I was getting feedback because of this Discord community that the work I was doing was good, that I was learning faster than most people do, which I don't say to brag, but I say it because I was unsure about whether I was actually as good at this as I thought I was, or whether it was just me having fun with something new. But actually, I find that coding comes reasonably naturally to me. There are obviously things that don't, but for the most part, I find it comes really naturally to my brain. And I went, okay, I actually want to do this. And that's when I applied to do a 1-year web development course here in Germany, sponsored by the state government, which means I am actually getting paid to do it because the government believes that by the time I finish this course, I will be employable. So it's really amazing. I'm getting paid to do a 1-year course. And within, it's so typical of me. I'm the kind of person at high school, right, who would volunteer for everything. Like I was in every club. I was in like chess club, web club.
I know that person. I know that kind of, you are one of them.
I would get in everything. I was the president of everything. And enough, within a few weeks of this course, they needed a class representative and everyone voted for me. I didn't even put myself, just said, Anna, it's Anna.
Because there was no need for you to present. You just get votes, that's it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was lovely. I'm not saying it to brag. I'm saying it because it's just typical. It's just so typical. But anyway, so yeah, now I started that in June. Where are we? We're in November. So
I don't know. I'm still in March in my head. I don't know.
5 months into my course now.
Okay.
So, yeah. And so far, I haven't covered anything that I didn't learn in those 60 days. So, so it's all.
Yeah, but I think that what you did, it has been great. So you did something with consistency for many days. Mm-hmm. And I think it's better than just do maybe 10 hours, neglecting your body maybe for just 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then just forget everything. So you created a habit, and you did it in the right way. Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, I was really proud of myself because consistency has not always been my strength. So I was very proud. I was very conscious of that.
Yeah, consistency is one of my favorite topics. We had here Ravin, for example, or Danny Thompson. People really consistent in what they do. Yeah, and consistency always pays back. Always. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I've been consistent in using Twitter, for example, and get noticed, but that's it. Yeah. So
I have to say, I'm not consistent in using Twitter. I try to be, but I just have had a few rough months, to be honest, health-wise. So it's been a bit hard in that regard.
What's the problem? I can just shout out you every day for like 2 months, every day. You get something. Yeah. So.
Why not?
Yeah. So and now thank you. It has been really a great story. Yeah, and you're not that stereotype of developer. Let's say that. Yeah. No, in a good sense, I'm saying it's a compliment. Yeah. I think you can think as a developer like a person sitting in a corner and coding like that. Like instead, yeah. And we need more people like you. We need more people like you in our developer community. Yeah.
It has to be a balance, and I have to admit, like when I was thinking about going into coding, I was like, hey, there are so many pros, right? Mostly operate in English. Like I speak pretty good German, but it's still nice for me when something is in English. It's well paid. It's much easier to find a job in tech than in anything else that I'm likely to be able to gain skills in. There were all these pros, but I have to be honest, I was really worried about coming into coding as a 33-year-old mother. I was thinking, like, the way I pictured it is that coding would be full of like early 20s tech bros gatekeeping the industry. And I thought, are people really going to hire me? Are people really going to want to work with me? Like I knew consciously no one would be like, oh, you're a woman, you're a mother. No, no one does that consciously. But what I was wondering is subconsciously, would people really accept me? Would I ever really be part of the group? And I have to say, and I suppose I have you to thank in large part for this as well, that the tech Twitter community really, and the Odin Project Discord that I mentioned earlier, really changed my mind about that. Because it wasn't just that people were decent to me, it's that people were actively happy to see me there. They actively wanted to get to know me. They actively wanted me to be involved in the community more, or as much as I could be. And it's honestly just been so lovely. So yeah, thank you to you, but also thank you if anyone's watching this who's been part of that community that we've built on Twitter. Honestly, your support has just meant everything. And also there's a group of tech women developers who I talk to regularly, and a huge shout out to them as well, because they have also helped me navigate a lot of those feelings and come out the other side feeling much more confident and welcome. So.
Yeah, but it's something that it pops out with every person that I talk with. That the developer community is great. You can find help anywhere. You can just tweet, I have this problem, maybe someone will. In 99%, if that question has an answer, you get that in some ways. Yeah, so yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love the mindset that we have, that most of us has. Yeah, and things like guitar would not exist without this kind of mindset. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and we are doing a pretty good job. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I have to say as well, as you mentioned before, the personality wise, I know I'm also a bit of an outlier, but actually that's part of. I mentioned earlier, I'm quite ambitious, and one of the goals that I have is to become a Scrum Master or a project manager or something along those lines, where I can actually help lead developers long term. Of course, I know early on it won't happen, but that's my goal. And part of my reasoning for that is simply the fact that I know a lot of developers are not as outwardly confident, let's say, or not as willing to express their opinions in a public way. I am not afraid of that. I love public speaking. I was a performer, of course. I no problem being in front of people. And for me, this class representative role is actually for me, a microcosm of what I want to eventually do, because I know that people who are not as confident can come to me and they can talk to me one-on-one and say, this is a problem I have. This is how I'm feeling. I don't really want to say anything because X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and I can then be the one to come forward and say, this is a problem. People have contacted me saying X, let's work it out. Let's find a solution. And I can kind of be that voice for people who are not as comfortable voicing their own concerns, so to speak. So that's my hopeful goal, knowing that I am a slightly different personality than a lot of developers.
Yeah, I think that everyone can help, and what you are doing, I think it's very important. It's a part that maybe a coder can find many solutions on a lot of forums, but the communication skills is something that is lacking. I'm also talking for myself. I'm not that public speaker. I did my first public speaking, I think 3 weeks ago, with Danny Thompson invited me. So I'm kind of new of this stuff. I don't know if I can get some good feedbacks for you, or maybe bad feedbacks, so I can change a little bit, because I want to improve also.
Bad feedback for me.
Okay. Let's record this. Yeah. So okay. So I'm done. What would you say to someone? Because I got these a lot of messages, because when I started by making these videos, and they see that I'm not that really confident person. I'm trying to improve that. So they said, how you did that? Oh, how can I do that? How can I make a video? How can I get more confident? I really get this kind of question. So what would you suggest to someone who is almost maybe I turned the camera on, then I turned it off. I don't know. So,
What a lie.
There are people that are just there. They just need a little bit of push. What will do? Yeah, what would you say? Can we help them? Because I think that also making videos, it's not just making videos and put them on YouTube. It's just also for yourself.
Yes.
To communicate something. So
you kind of touched on there what I was going to say, which is that I think confidence is a skill. People think of confidence as some like innate personality trait you have. That's absolute lie. I don't believe that people are innately confident. I believe you learn to be confident, because people can be confident and an introvert. People can be confident and an extrovert. People can be an extrovert but not be confident. People can be an introvert and not be confident. It's not to do with how outward you are. Confidence is in here, and it only comes with practice, and it comes with knowing yourself. So I believe that confidence is a skill. I believe it's a skill that can be taught. I believe it's a skill that you can learn. But I also believe that, like with any skill, unfortunately, the answer is usually practice. And with creating videos, for example, online, you may or may not know, I create or have created a lot of videos for card games, for Gwent and Legends of Runeterra. So I don't create tech developer videos yet, but I have created a lot of YouTube videos. And I will say, when I started with them, I was not particularly confident because I had worked on a stage. I'd worked with audiences. I'd worked with people in front of me. Speaking to a camera is something completely different. And the best way to start is to create something for yourself. You do it for yourself. You don't do it for other people, because that takes a lot of pressure off. If you begin making a video, if your very, very first video, and you put pressure on yourself to perform well, you're going to fall apart. And there is an art to creating videos as well. You will make mistakes. If you have certain lines you want to say, you are guaranteed to say them wrong the first 2 to 3 takes every time. Every time. So you will start putting pressure on yourself to get that exactly right and to say it perfectly the first time, and it's just not going to happen. So either you accept that it's going to be a long process, and that, like with any skill, you're going to kind of suck when you start, and that's okay. That's cool. Everyone sucks when they start something new. It's part of the process. Or you create something just for yourself as kind of like a practice run, and then you do something like give a presentation to a friend or to 1 or 2 friends. And then only later on you can then transition into putting things on YouTube. I will say, obviously, this depends on the person. Some people would prefer to just dive straight in, just create a video and go. And as I said, if that's your attitude, go for the I'm going to suck at this method and just record it slowly, accept it's going to take time, days. That's one way. But yeah, if you're much more hesitant, if you're really worried and you're feeling like you're going to have a panic attack or something like that, then just make it for yourself. Take the pressure completely off, make it for yourself, see it as practice, watch yourself back, take notes. You can approach it in either way, but I think either way, the answer is going to be practice. And that's how it is.
I think, and I think that sometimes I get this question, how can I do make videos? I think that now that I've done some videos, and I can say one thing to you, that I published my really first video of my life, this 25th of July.
Okay.
It's a 23 seconds video where I just say, I still remember that, and it was like a thank you for something. I don't know if you watched that, but it was so difficult. Sometimes I watched it and I laugh at that because it made me hours to do that. Now I can say this. And then I started to making the running for charity videos in August. this happened to me a lot, for example, because
Yeah.
I love running. So I combined, yeah, you've noticed that,
That
yeah.
in common, Francesco. I'm sorry.
What?
We don't have that in common. It says
Okay, so we yeah, and I don't sing, so I don't know if we can keep going
no,
or we should stop now. I don't know.
no,
I
please.
think I think that this will last longer than 30 minutes. Sorry for that. Yeah, but I don't care. We are free here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. And then where was I? Yeah, and yeah. Oh, and I'd start making the running videos. So I combined something that I like a lot with something that I'm not comfortable with.
Ah,
So
yeah.
I combined two things: something that I love to do, and something that I don't like to do, and it worked. Yeah, and I didn't have add to speech, for example, so it was great for me. Yeah, 'cause now I'm talking all day long, but yeah, but it was really a problem for me. So I solved, for example, the problem of getting recorded by
Mm,
running. I had no problem. I just had the GoPro. So, and also one thing that worked a lot for me, I don't say this to brag, but by
please.
doing a video for someone else. So I think, okay, I'm doing this to get for charity, to get donations. So it's not for me, it's from someone else. So for someone else, I can do that. It's easier for me to do this for someone else. I don't know why it works like that for me, but this happened to me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I switched to other kind of videos, but yeah, I think that I'm getting into that because I
Yeah.
think I've done quite a lot of this sort of things. Yeah.
Great advice. I mean, when people are talking about writing a book, they say everyone has a book in them. And
Mm.
if people think about writing a book, and the number one piece of advice people get about writing a book is to write what you know, right? And I think the same absolutely applies to videos. Absolutely. It's still content creation, right? Writing a book is creating something from your mind. Creating a video is creating something from your mind. Start with something you know. I think that's great advice. I think the
Yeah.
approach you took is excellent. The fact that it was for charity is obviously a bonus. I'm not sure it's so easy to replicate, but yeah, it might help some
I
people.
don't know. I don't know. It worked for me because yeah, I bought that camera like 10 years ago, and I said this year I will publish my first video on YouTube, and it was like 2010. Then I'll publish my one video, and yeah, and we had to have a quarantine, a
Mm,
pandemic to start making videos. Yeah, yeah, that's it. So yeah, and I'm so happy about that. Also, the Twitter helped me a lot to
yeah.
getting started. So yeah, also I got some confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I'm here.
I'm so
Going.
happy.
I'm here speaking with you. It's fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I
and
mean, I
yeah,
think that
and
there are so many opportunities out there, especially in the tech space, because as you said, a lot of tech people, a lot of developers, engineers are not necessarily extroverts. They're not necessarily outwardly confident in a way that will work on camera, and some aren't even comfortable writing. In a few weeks, I'll be actually talking at the Hashnode blogger boot camp, let's see if I get that right, about blogging, about tech blogging. And it is something that I know a lot of people need a bit of a push to do, because they either don't feel they have anything to contribute or they're not sure how to do it. But I think in the tech space, there is a lot of room for more contributors. I absolutely am constantly talking about this, that everyone should feel free to write or to talk to a camera or whatever they feel comfortable doing, to get themselves out there, get their thoughts out there. And you will find that when you do that, you become a better developer as well. And there is a huge lack of information out there for newer coders
yeah,
that is written in a way they can actually understand. Like, I think a lot of developers forget how difficult this stuff is to learn when you are first starting, and they don't actually think about the level of language that you need to write at or to speak at to communicate ideas effectively to newcomers. And I see it over and over again. But there is definitely space there for people who feel that they can communicate things simply, especially. There is a lot of space there. I know, for example, there are a lot of people working in the space of clean code and these kinds of more advanced topics as well, that really there's a lot of space in those areas as well. Data structures and algorithms, these kinds of areas. There's a lot of scope there to talk as well, but a lot of people don't feel as comfortable talking about that kind of thing. So I just think, I think everyone should be contributing something to the community if they can. But I understand it is often an issue of confidence, and it is often an issue of, should I, could I, how would I do it? It would take me so long. I've never done it before, but for me, I write blog posts on technical topics when I am trying to understand them better. I don't often write about tech topics that I already know everything on. I usually write about things where I think I've got a solid understanding. I think I've got a good way to explain it to other people who are newer than I am.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe there's a little bit of room where I'm like, do I really know this? And that helps me learn and find those gaps and fill them. So even if you don't come at it from a perspective of wanting to help the community, which I do and I think you do as well, but even if you don't honestly give a hoot about the community, even if you're like, whatever, tech community, I don't care, do it for yourself. Like, do it for yourself. Exactly. You will become a developer.
Yeah. It happened to me many times that I posted something, I did an article, a video, and then I forget about that, and I go checking my own articles and my own videos. I don't know if it ever happened to you, but it happened. It happens.
Yeah. Back in the day, I wrote about the open-closed principle, and I have to be honest, it's been a long time since I've looked at the solid principles at all. And so I recently did exactly that. I was like, hang on, what were they again? What was the open-closed principle again? I had to go back and read my own blog posts. So absolutely.
I have the principle article on Hashinode, which went pretty well. Please check that.
Oh, okay, I will.
Yeah. Self-promotion.
Good one.
Free self-promotion for me, yeah.
TO recently, I got a good one about, I got top 7 this week about how to give compliments, which I was really
and also Simon Hoiberg has a good article about Osa. Yeah, he has it's famous on internet. If you Google Solid Principle, is one of the first results. I say this against me, but he has a really good article. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I will do that. Yeah. I like it a lot. So that's...
yeah. What you say is great. I agree with you. One thing that I'd like to add is that if you want to do something like writing articles, doing videos, one thing that you can do, for example, using also socials, you can surround yourself with people who already do that. I love that because, for example, for me, it worked because in February and March, when I started using Twitter in a proper way, I started following only developers. Like 99% of the people that I follow are developers, like some really pretty rare exception, but also some small YouTubers, not really great one, but to know how can I start, how can I get started. So to do that, I surrounded myself with the people who they were already doing that.
Creating content, yeah.
So by surrounding myself with people who were already doing this daily, you can ask questions. It seems and also it seems more natural to you because you are surrounded for people doing that. So it's not that, oh, now I'm writing an article. It's so strange. It's so hard. Yeah.
No, that becomes like more of a social, not an expectation, but like social norm, let's say. Yeah, it feels more normal and everyday. I definitely feel that. And I definitely notice, for example, that accessibility in tech, for example, is something I really didn't know much about, didn't think much about. I knew what it meant. I knew some basic principles, but I didn't know a lot about it. But since joining the tech Twitter space, I've seen so much discussion about it. I've seen lots of tips and tricks. I've read articles. These are things I would have had no idea about if I had not been on Twitter, for example. And so now I know that this is an issue, and I can talk about it with people in my class who are new coders who might never ever even know what a semantic tag is unless I'm talking to them about it, might not know how to use alt tags on images. Things like this that I can actually help them learn about, even though I'm a really new coder myself. And so this, you're absolutely right, that becomes a normal part of my world because I surround myself with people who talk about these issues, who talk about issues in tech. And absolutely, I think as well, tech blogging is something I was on the fence about doing, again, because I'm a beginner. And actually, I read a tweet from, I think it was Angie Jones, who is wonderful. And she actually posted a tweet along the lines of, if you are thinking about starting a blog, just start with one article, just do it, write about something you know, write about something that is easy for you. I guarantee it will help someone. And she said a tweet along those lines. And so I went, yeah, okay. And I went and I think I just wrote, I think it was about class and ID in CSS, what the difference is between class and ID and when you use one versus the other. It's very basic, but I wrote this article and I posted it and people read it and people said, oh, I didn't know this. Thank you. And I was like, it's amazing.
I think that if you do even some pretty basic, and I think that the basic stuff it go pretty well because there are a lot of people, and if one person they just start searching for that title, so they want to know that. I know it can sound strange, but maybe I can think about, I don't know, maybe for another language, for example, for someone whose mother tongue, of course it's easy, but if I want type, how do I say something in Chinese? I don't know, maybe something really pretty basic would be really interesting for me.
The thing is what I think happens is that when so another blog post that I did was about grid, CSS grid, but it wasn't how to do grid. It was actually how to learn grid. So what are some things you need to know about grid? What are some of the intricacies that you should focus on? And part of writing that, part of what I thought about was a lot of people, when they're writing things, they're thinking from a technical perspective, oh, I have to bring something new to the table. I have to give like a tip or a trick, or I need to like do some like sneaky thing that no one else has thought of. It's like, no, when people are learning these languages, they want to know how, but they also want to know why. Like, I can see in this tutorial that I give this a class and I give this an ID. Why? Why do I do that? They can follow the tutorial, it will work fine, but they never actually learn these little things. With grid, they'll be like, oh, I can see that justify content, but it's align items. Why is it one and not the other? When is it one and the other? And they don't necessarily know. They can make the code work, but they don't understand the why of it. And actually having people just explain things, like you could write an article literally just on that. Like, what is justify content versus align items? When do you use one versus the other? That can be a blog post. Like, it can be that simple. You can break it down into small parts, because a lot of these things that intermediate or advanced coders take for granted are things that people who are just starting have no idea. And in language, like you said, you have a similar situation. I remember when my husband first started learning German, he said, why do nouns have genders? Why are some things masculine, some things feminine, and some things neutral? He's like, I don't, like, why? And I was like, there is no why. And he's like, but why? I'm like, there is why. There's no reasoning. It's just how it is. But, you know, these are the questions that new people have. So it happens in language, it happens in coding, it happens with anything that sometimes when you get to a later stage, you forget that these little things, people want to know about them.
And I think a lot of people just Google why do this, why do that. Like we were children, we say always why that, and why.
Exactly.
Because jokes aside, if you understand the why, you can apply this somewhere else.
Yeah.
You just working. Okay, now I can do this in another situation. And of course, when you build your project, it will be different. So you need to understand something, why you are learning. Yeah,
exactly. Why do I use an object here instead of an array? You know, like people might do and follow it step by step. They'll get everything right, but they might not understand a single thing that they're doing. You know, it's important.
Yeah, that's good. Yes, yeah. So and where can we find you?
Oh,
because you do a lot of things. Yeah, I've checked your site, and you. So where can we find you? When you write?
I have a link tree kind of page that I made that is you can get to from my Twitter. So I think if you go to my Twitter, you'll find everything else that I do. Twitter, I'm at Anna J McDougall. McDougall is McDougall. That's sometimes hard for people, but I'm sure you'll find me. If you're tweeting me out or something, you'll have my link somewhere.
Yeah. We'll put them. It has been really great for me because now that I'm doing this kind of crazy stuff, inviting here people that I've talked and I've chatted with you for months, and I've chatted every day, and it has been like 2 weeks that my fingers are quite more relaxed because now I'm speaking a little more, because sometimes it's hard to chat all day long. Sometimes it's a bit hard, so
the definition of an extrovert, and even I need time to recharge my social batteries. You know, but you cannot be go all the time. It is we need chill time.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I'm really glad to be on here because I'm just loving getting involved in the tech community. I've always been passionate about technology. I am loving coding and developing, and I am so passionate about it. You know, I know some people do it like for the monetary side of things. Some people do it because they want to create something. They're very creative and they want to find ways to express that. For me, coding is just like a giant logic puzzle. It's like someone gives me a problem and they're like, how do I do this? And to me, I'm just like, oh, yes, let me go. This is like a giant Sudoku puzzle. This is like, this is a giant logic exercise. That's what it's all it is. Like, how do I put these pieces together so that we get this outcome? And I just am so passionate about it. So I'm always happy to talk to you about anything to do with tech. I am so pumped.
I love. We need more people like you in our community because we are a great community, but we need. I think we need to get comfortable with this. Yes, and I know I'm forcing a little bit myself now. Maybe it's a bit easier. It's getting a bit easier, but in the beginning it was really hard. For example, I was kind of nervous when I joined your Zoom call, for example. I can say this, because maybe it's because it was something new, but sometimes you need to do something. It was like the 4th of August, I don't know, but I know because we already chatted a lot, so I said that it could be like a good idea just to chill out. And we played that game on Zoom. I didn't remember that one. We will not do this today, but another time.
Dictionary game. That was lots of fun.
And I was pretty good also. So next time. We'll do this. So
I have to say, sorry, just to backtrack a tiny bit on what you just said, because I know you're trying to wrap up, but you just said something that's really important. You admitted to me that you were nervous, and actually, that is one of the best things you can do. As you can imagine, coming from stage, people get stage fright, right? People are backstage. They are like shaking, literally physically shaking before they go out on stage. If there's one thing I've learned from that, ignoring it is not the right way to go. Like, you shouldn't ever be backstage, so to speak, thinking, I'm not nervous, I'm fine, I'm not nervous, because that actually just bottles it all in. And it actually means that you've got this energy kind of circling around you. The best thing to do is just say like, okay, I'm nervous, I'm worried because I think I might forget my words. I've practiced my words, I've practiced my lyrics, I'm confident in this. I haven't ever gotten it wrong before, or maybe I've gotten it wrong once before, but I studied after that. So even though I'm nervous, I can do this, I'm going to just get through it. And once I'm out there, I'll probably feel okay. You kind of talk yourself through it like you would talk a friend through it. If you see a friend who's nervous about a job interview, you don't say, oh, you're not nervous, you're fine. Like, you would never say that. You'd be like, it's cool.
Yeah.
Got this. Just breathe, go in, remember all your talking points, try to hold yourself confidently. You can do this. And we should absolutely talk to ourselves the same way. So for what it's worth, I think you saying, yes, I was nervous coming into this call was absolutely the right approach. There's a lot of self-awareness. And I think you can actually be really proud of that fact rather than trying to hide it. Hiding, like putting on false confidence, it's not worth anything.
Thank you so much. I think that I'll watch this again later because I really need that. So thank you. Yeah. I needed this kind of hits also for me because some people could think that you are so natural, but I'm still not I'm in that phase that when I'm getting out of my comfort zone, and I'm feeling very good now because I'm on the borderline, and I'm feeling so good. So. I'm asking to myself why I didn't start it before now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think feel that way. Once they start, like starting is the hardest part. Being like, if I may quote The Bachelorette, I'm a bit of I actually really like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette franchise. Please don't hate me. But she actually said, showing up is the hardest part. And actually that's totally true. Just starting, just showing up, just putting yourself forward, that is the hardest part. Once you've done that, it's actually relatively simple, might not be correct, but that's the hill you have to get over. So once, for me, when I got nervous before going on stage, once I stepped on stage, those nerves disappeared. It's that step from backstage to on stage that is the hardest part. And so for you, creating that first video was probably one of the hardest things. As you said, you spent hours to make 23 seconds, right?
It's crazy.
Totally normal, and that's the hardest part, honestly. Yeah, now you're in the groove. Now you get
and now I don't want to hide this because I know that I can by saying this I can help someone else because I can feel them. I want to say this because maybe it's a bit bad for me, but I don't care about saying this because it's the truth. It
shows a really good level of self-awareness, and it's one of the differences. I'm sorry, I keep dragging this on, but it's one of the big differences I feel between people who are in their, let's say, early 20s versus people who are in their early 30s. And maybe this is a generalization. Obviously, some people mature earlier than others. There are people in their 30s who are idiots. There are people in their 20s who are much wiser than me. So it's not like a definite thing. But I will say, generally speaking, people in the early 20s tend to think, or teenagers tend to think, that confidence is about what you put out, like what is out. Whereas I think once you start getting a bit older and you start having a bit more experience, or you live a little, you discover yourself a bit more, then I think you start realizing that confidence is about what's in here, and it's about how you shine inwardly, not how you shine outwardly.
I totally agree with that. Yeah. So thank you. I think this has been the most useful video call for me, I think, right now. And I did make quite a lot because it's something that in this period it's really important for me because in this phase I really needed your help. So thank you very much.
I could help.
It has been great.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward for another time. So I hope next time I'll be even more confident than this. But
Thank you.
So thank you.
And you're a star. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great.
It's okay. Bye.
See you later. Bye everyone.
Bye.